Trading days, January 2nd, 2016. Happy New Year. We're going to look at a couple of charts here. First one is the daily chart of the SP 500, and it's really the chart that's printed in the report. I've just blown it up a bit to point out a couple of things. So in the report I had mentioned December 14th as a potential primary cycle low, and that would be it right here. It's 16 weeks along, a little shorter than a normal primary. So what we don't want to see is price come down below this December 14th low of 1993.26. That'll change the where we're going to place the primary cycle trough. While we're looking at this chart, I typically have the 15 trading day cycle, which is the red line here. I have 15 days, that's one half of the 30-day or 6-week cycle. It's the half cycle. And the 45-day is the blue line, and that is the half cycle to the 90 days, which would be 18 weeks, which is the primary cycle, which is the main cycle that we follow, although for people who've been looking at this for a while realize we follow many cycles. These are two key ones though we use with the primary cycle. So I was expecting, as I do with every primary cycle, that this would have been much more bullish. We've really been in a sideways consolidation pattern since this potential primary low. This week, next week coming up, January 4th, is going to be very critical to determine the direction of the markets early in the year. Pardon me. While I'm looking at this, some other people have asked me about how I get the retracements on here, and that's the blue and the red lines. So if I click on one of the blue lines here, you'll see that these blue lines are Fibonacci retracements, in this case from the high on early November the 3rd, to this low of November 16th. And you'll see if we just drew two straight lines across from there, price has been held within, pretty much within that within those two lines. We kind of peaked down below here a couple of times, but didn't spend much time there. And they've been fairly good at picking up support, or pardon me, resistance in this case, this green line, or support is coming down and hits this line. The same is true with the red lines, although they're just a longer term, the vertical red lines. These are a move down from July 20th to the low on August 24th. And again, you'll see that these, look at this top one here, the 88.6%, they are act very well as supported resistance lines, and I watch them closely as price gets close to, right now we're getting down close to the 23.6%, and we'll see how that trend holds up on Monday. We'll look at one other chart here, and that is another chart of the S&P 500. This is a chart of Mercury retrograde. I should mention, for those who aren't that familiar, the two planets inside Earth's orbit, in other words between the Sun and the Earth, are Mercury and Venus. So both Mercury and Venus can have what is called an inferior conjunction or a superior conjunction. And I've kind of labeled these for some time: an I inferior, S superior. An inferior conjunction means, I'll just talk about Mercury, the same would be true for Venus. An inferior means that the Mercury is on the same side as Earth. If we're looking at the Sun, Earth would be between the two. And the superior conjunction is when, in this case, Mercury is on the far side of the Sun. So you would have Earth, the Sun, and then on the far side you'd have Mercury. Other than that, these arrows, they show where Mercury went retrograde, and the blue arrows show where they went direct. So we'll see here that was pretty well the top back on September 17th, where we put in this W bottom. And if we take a look back here, we typically get good moves, reasonable moves around either the retrograde date, or the blue line is when Mercury turns direct. I'm just going to say one other thing here. Oh yes, and that's to watch for. You'll see here's the inferior conjunction, and let me start that over again. Between the retrograde and the direct dates, you're going to have the inferior conjunction, and the last one we'll see was back in September 30th, and very near the low. You'll see them here. Here's another one near the low. This one really didn't point up to anything, and this one is at a low. Sometimes they're at a high. The point is they're turn dates, and very reliable turn dates. They're over 70% if I go back in history here. This particular Mercury retrograde, which was coming up on Tuesday, January the 5th, a little unusual in that it's just moved into Aquarius. So it has it's within the first degree of Aquarius when it goes retrograde, and then it moves back into Capricorn. The reason I bring that up is that Aquarius is kind of the unknown. It's maybe a little unstable, ruled by Uranus. So we could very well get surprise events. In this case, that may be very short-lived, because within a couple of days, Mercury will move back into Capricorn, and it's an Earth sign. We typically find them more stable, less surprises. So there could be some type of surprise event very close to January the 5th. That's all I wanted to say on this. Thank you very much for listening.